For our first story, we have update. Mike, female 27, husband, male 31, called me a miserable, insufferable person and it broke me? Link to original post. Link. I want to start off by saying thank you to everyone who left a comment and gave advice. The responses were overwhelmingly kind and genuinely helpful, and I am so grateful for this little corner of the internet. There were a few assumptions made in the comments I wanted to clear up and talk about what my next steps are. First, a few folks had questioned if I was making an effort of creating happiness in my life. I go to pottery class, exercise regularly, and am just now dipping my toe into social gatherings outside of work. My favorite thing to do is go to the movies, and although I've been doing it alone now for some time, I was thinking of joining a cinema club. All this being said, I think it's a great idea to take myself to individual therapy. I hadn't considered I could have grief over losing a friend group, and then how moving to a place with a limited support system could exacerbate that grief. I'm looking forward to unpacking it all in therapy and hopefully starting to heal from it. Less than 3 as for my husband and I's relationship, I still do feel a bit at a loss. He apologized the next day to me, and told me he didn't mean to call me those things. Still, I can't shake the deadpan look in his eyes when he saw me sobbing and asking him to apologize. I'll try to work through all of this in therapy, but wanted to say thank you once more to all of the kind souls who left words of encouragement on my post. You have truly helped me more than I can say. That's the end of our first post. Let's see what the commenters had to say. Our first commenter says, "This dude doesn't like you." Our second commenter says, "Don't you think it's strange that you and only you are being held accountable and believe that you're the one that needs to fix this? I've seen lots of abusive relationships play out that way. The abuser accuses the victim of being defective and the reason they are receiving abuse. The victim goes to therapy, reads all the self-help books, does all the emotional work. But for some reason they still keep being abused. But the abuser doesn't need to fix anything on their end. It's the victim's fault they are abused." Our third commenter says, "You also might want to schedule a meeting with a divorce lawyer so you find out how the laws where you live would apply to you if you do decide to divorce. I am not saying to file. I'm saying in addition to therapy, knowing what to expect will make it easier for you to decide. Also, please make sure your BC is working. This is not the time to add a baby to all of this." For our second story, we have Mike, 25 female, BF, 24 male, yelled at me while we were intimate. Should I have talked it out? My BF and I have been dating for 1.5 years. We have had ups and downs, but sometimes he just seems like he turns on me. Last night he was going down on me and it was taking me a long time to. Eventually he sat up, slapped my leg, and yelled, "What is wrong with you? Why is it taking so long?" I was so shocked and in horrible disbelief and fear. I started sobbing and ran to the shower and locked myself in. He eventually came to the bathroom and said he was mad because I should have stayed and talked together about me being upset. I just couldn't stop crying. I felt so violated. Should I have stayed and talked it out? Was I being too sensitive? I really just couldn't even look at him tbh. Later he was very apologetic and seemed very sorry. He said he felt terrible about it and didn't feel like himself. TLDR. BF yelled at me while we were intimate. I ran away instead of trying to talk it out. Edit. I think what I'm most confused about is that yes, sometimes he kind of emotionally cuts off and turns on me as I said, but it's never physical and it's confusing. BC, it's so rare and always kind of seems like I'm just being too sensitive. Some of you are commenting that he's probably angry about everything and it's just not true. That's why I get so confused. That's the end of our second post. Let's see what the commenters had to say. Our first commenter says, "Man, I would never feel comfortable letting my partner go down on me again if he ever did that. No amount of apologies would undo the fresh new trauma that would plant in my brain." Our second commenter says, "For him to create that kind of aggression during what is supposed to be a loving and intimate act, you had every right to be upset. His impatience is the problem. His need to control the situation rather than allowing you to enjoy it is the problem. Our brains can't shift from being startled into a fight, flight, freeze, or fawn response if we are still feeling attacked, judged, or criticized, without time and self-compassion to think effectively. So, yes, talking about it is important, but acknowledging that you were not in a safe enough space to do so is equally important to recognize. Our third commenter says, here's a little advice: if you're that young, and your relationship is that new, and you're already having ups and downs, it's not going to suddenly become all roses and chocolates. You should still be in the smitten, honeymoon, love bird phase. Since you're obviously not, it's time to find someone else. For our last story, we have husband, 35 male, bought me, 31 female, same earrings I have worn daily for the last 2 years. Husband and I are in our 3rd year together. Got married legally last year, our wedding is later in 2025. I have often pointed out to him that I love sweet gestures, such as receiving meaningful gifts when the occasion arises, versus a gift card or generic item. I went out of my comfort zone and asked him directly if he could buy me earrings for Valentine's Day this year. He said yes, and even asked for some brands he can look at. I gave him some suggestions and let him pick for me. He gifts me the earrings, Huggies, not a simple stud, today, and it's the exact same pair I have been wearing for the last 2 years, every single day. I've worn them the day I first met him, the day he proposed, the day we got married on paper. I couldn't hold back my honest feelings that I felt so invisible to him. That my doubts of him not caring about the little things were just confirmed by this. He got upset at me for getting upset at him. Fellow ladies, how would you have felt? That's the end of our last post. Let's see what the commenters had to say. Our first commenter says, I don't buy, men are like that, they don't notice things. Men notice plenty when they want to. They can recite the stats for their favorite teams or their favorite players among other things. I would have been disappointed too. Our second commenter says, your feelings are valid. He must not have put in much effort if he didn't even bother to look at your current earrings. It's not like he just bought you something you already own. It's the exact same pair you have been wearing every day for the last 2 years. Our third commenter says, don't buy into the whole, guys are just like that, thing. My partner hinted at having a note on his phone of all the things I excitedly talk about maybe getting, and is actually excited about my upcoming birthday. I would also be upset by such a letdown. That's all for today. If you enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.